I wanted to do a video about the Satanic Panic of the 1980s, as it seems like this is being revised by, I don't even want to call them conservatives, but Trumpians. People like Mark Dice and Alex Jones and these people, they're starting to revive what was called the Satanic Panic in the 80s. Now, what was the Satanic Panic? As I said, my father was a LaVeyan Satanist. I don't know when he became a LaVeyan Satanist personally, because I wasn't alive yet. My assumption is in the 1970s. He probably read the Satanic Bible and said, woohoo, this sounds like me. In the 1980s, there was literally 80s through 90s, or early 90s, there was basically a witch hunt perpetuated by born-again Christians and atheists, even liberal atheists and others, to basically ostracize LaVeyan Satanists. And they made it sound like there was this satanic underground and the entire government was controlled by Satanists. The whole FBI was Satanists. The Congress was all Satanists. Everybody was a Satanist. And basically, we see that happening again. Now, what's important to understand, Satanism, actual Satanism, LaVeyan Satanism, is of course a minority religion. There's not many people that adhere to it globally, although some people like to think there are. There's not really that many that really adhere to it, as opposed to things like Catholicism, evangelical Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, etc. There's very, very few. There's probably more Satanists than Jews, though. Just joking. But the fact of the matter is this. What it was is, I believe, if I remember correctly, it started with the, see, I wasn't really born yet, but I believe it started with the ostracizing of Dr. Michael Aquino, or Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, in the military. He was one of the people in charge of the psychiatric warfare operations, and also happened to be a Satanist, later a Setian. However, those accusations, after stringent investigation, were found to be false. Stringent investigation by Army intelligence and the FBI. He was exonerated, but they never talk about him being exonerated. Geraldo Rivera pushed the issue. In fact, I think the Satanic Panic is what pushed him to superstardom, that and the skinhead movement. Now, he would have Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan's Daughter, on frequently, as did everybody else. She was splashed all over the media and made to look like an imbecile a lot of times, although she's very bright and was actually, I think, the best high priestess of the Church of Satan, despite her later distancing herself from Satanism and becoming a Tibetan Buddhist. Now, what's interesting about this is the Satanic Panic actually created an increase in Satanists, LaVeyan Satanists, and this was due to the fact that it made people actually look into Satanism and realize it wasn't completely crazy. But with these so-called conservatives like Mark Dice and Alex Jones that are pushing this Illuminati conspiracy theory nonsense, I would like to point out that this conspiracy theory stuff is ultimately disinformation. Whether they're doing it on purpose or not, it's disinformation to distract from what's really going on. And that is the fact that our government, the United States government, and the governments around the world have been basically bought and paid for by capitalist globalists. Whether you want to call them Zionists or Catholics or gays or whatever, our governments have been bought by the people with the money, and these people with the money are the ones leading our governments in this direction or that direction. Okay, that's what the ultimate thing is. This is what people tend to misunderstand, and they're going, it's the Illuminati, it's the Illuminati, it's the Freemasons, it's the Satanists, whatever they're saying it is, it isn't. Some of the cases of things like religious abuse, religious abuse, animal sacrifices, all this crazy stuff. If you really look into who is doing these things, and these are as far as known, are very they're small incidents. It's not a vast occult conspiracy or something. But what you'll see is these people usually are practitioners of Afro-Caribbean voodoo, Latin American Santeria, or Wicca. They're crazy kids that are into Wicca or what's called theistic Satanism, not Levian Satanism. So, and I do recommend people look into this. Like with Scientology, I recommend that people look into it. But what needs to be understood is this is disinformation. It's basically to sell newspapers. Newspapers are out of style, but it's to sell an idea. And people like Mark Dice and Alex Jones especially, are getting quite wealthy by selling disinformation. They should call it disinfo wars instead of info wars. But that's just my opinion. I mean, well, it's not my opinion. Please look it up. The Satanic Panic, Google Satanic Panic, and then follow every link. Also visit thechurchofsatan.com, satanicchurch.com, and Zephyr.org. Just look into what's going on also. You have to, people need to start thinking beyond what the media tells them and what people tell them word of mouth. Just because somebody's on YouTube does not make them an expert. And in fact, I wouldn't want anybody to think I'm an expert in anything. I would like people to actually look into things and get a deeper understanding of things on their own.